Hello and welcome to the Navy Blue Corner. I'm Ian, joined as always by my good mate Lockie, and we are back to preview Carlton's round 7 clash against the West Coast Eagles. Lockie, things are quite negative in the Carlton spaces right at the moment. I just love because I didn't get to chat to you after the St Kilda game. I'd love to gauge how you're feeling and where everything kind of sits with you. It seems to be how we start every one of these episodes, but now even more so because I didn't get your hot takes after the loss. I didn't get your fiery emotions all in one spot. So I'd love to hear how you're feeling at the moment.
It's good to be back, mate. I certainly wasn't fiery. It was more of a deep depression, I would say, a deep sadness from what we saw on Sunday. But I'm pumped to record this. I'm feeling good for this weekend. I'm feeling the optimism's back. I don't want to say it's a roller coaster because it's like it's more gradual than a roller coaster. It's been like a slow kind of decline, and now I feel like it's only up from here, surely.
Yeah, it's a bit more like maybe the teacup ride rather than a roller coaster, if that makes any sense. I don't know. But yeah. Look, I guess for me, sort of after that Saints loss, I was feeling quite down. I think my motivation around Carlton immediately after it was so low. It's one of the lowest it's been in a while, where I was just like, I don't want to watch this if this is how it's going to be going forward. But I think like every single week, a few days after, you start to get up and about, start to go, okay, can we fix this? How are we going to do it? And now we're here. Now we're excited to record this, a midday recording on a Friday afternoon, which is unlike us. Normally it's a night one. So we're a little bit more awake, a little bit more up and about. So let's see how things go. But look, as I said, the Blues take on the Eagles after back-to-back losses. First time this season that's happened. The boys are looking to rectify this, and there are plenty of big talking points that we need to cover on this show. So let's get straight into this. And we've got to kick this off how we do every single week. It is the what do you want to see from this game, Lockie? And what are those key things that you need to see? So when we reflect on this after the win, we can go, yep, beautiful, ticked off. We're the best side in the league again.
You know I love the reflecting. I like the narrative. I want us to be producing a nice timeline of progression towards that flag. I mean, it feels like there couldn't be a better... Well, I guess there could always be better. But this is such a great situation for us this week to try and regain some form, I think, against this West Coast team who, my goodness, I know the commentators are going to be talking about West Coast having injuries. And sometimes it's like, oh, Carlton have injuries too. This week, I don't want to hear any of that. West Coast are so depleted. We cannot even stack up against them. This is just the perfect opportunity for us to have a domination of a game. So I think that's the main thing, the high level thing that I want to see is that we should be dominating this game.
Yeah.
Sometimes we talk about, we'll be happy just to get the 4 points that's out the door for me this week. A tight win is not, a tight, unconvincing win is not enough for me. This is the week that we have to put the foot down.
No, I agree with you. And it's annoying because we haven't seen it this season. And I had that written as one of my 3 points. It was comprehensive and easy win. It's not like the North game, not like the GWS game. We've had 2 losses. It's time to rectify this. It's time to fix the issues that we have. As you're saying, perfect opportunity against probably the worst team in the comp at the moment. They've got the injuries. It's away from home, but that's no excuse anymore. If you want to be a good team, you beat anyone, and you definitely beat a team like this currently. And so it's the perfect kind of, just time to do it. Rehearsal, potentially, for how we want to play for the rest of the season. And it has to be start to finish, games done. Not like last year. But you stole one of mine, so I'll throw another one in there. It's impact from smalls. Impact from smalls is what I want to see. And this goes to what we'll probably talk about in what I'm assuming is another one of our things we want to see from this game. But due to the way we're playing at the moment, it's not helping these smalls, and their form is not helping themselves either. The Fisher, Durden, Honey, Ed, these guys have been kept in this team. And we'll talk about selection at some stage. I know that is the key talking point every Carlton supporter wants to talk about. Twitter blew up last night, and these guys have been selected again. It's another opportunity. They have to show it. I need to see something more than I am currently. What they're contributing has not been enough, has not been effective. If they're going to get continually gifted games and not get replaced, it's time to show up for me, for those guys. So I need to see some impact from our smalls, whether that's goals, whether it's pressure, whether it's stopping West Coast's run, whether it's all of it. It's what I need to see from them. But what's another one for you, Lockie?
Oh, that's good. I almost want to shoehorn this question in now from Timmy Dub because as I was scrolling through, you got plenty of engagement with your review questions as you always do. But I feel like this speaks to what you're saying then. So from Timmy Dub, selections have been made and there remains some. See?
Oh, he's done it again. I seriously. How many weeks in? Is this a new segment? Like, do I have to go through every single episode that we've done and just find every time that you can't speak, trying to read a fan question out here? Because I'm going to do it. By the end of the season, I can't do it because it's going to be a 10-hour affair of you botching being able to read perfectly good English.
I'm going to DM Timmy Dub after this because I think he's genuinely stitched me up here on purpose. So I'm just going to interpret the question and not read it word for word. Thanks, Timmy Dub. Just as I said, how good a question. I shoehorn this into the main part of the episode. Which lucky player is most likely to repay Voss's faith in them this weekend and rejuvenate their year? I love that as like a positive take on this. Yes. I want you to give me a name, and maybe it's one of the smalls, maybe it's someone else. Who's it going to be?
Oh, that is a tough question. Like in my head, I want it to be Fisher. I need it to be Zach Fisher. But I'm going to say, I don't know, maybe George Hewitt. Maybe that's the easy answer. Because I feel like this is a man who I've been saying get him out at the moment because he's either injured or out of form. Either way, someone else should probably be in there for what I think he's doing. He's probably the most likely that can turn it around because we've seen so much of it. But for me, I want it to be him or Fisher, really. Do you have anyone that springs to mind yourself?
No, I mean, Fisher was the first one for me.
Yeah.
I'm not even sure what it really looks like. I guess that's him being that spark and probably hitting the scoreboard as well. The Hewitt one is great. And if we're looking at who is most likely, I think it's got to be him because we know he's got it in him. So great question, Timmy Dub.
Yeah. So do you have any other little things that you're looking to see here, Lockie?
Not little things. They're all big things this week because so much has to change. I guess something that is like a visible thing for me at least is the hunger that the players come with. Like we'll probably talk about the game plan stuff at some stage, but regardless of the coaches and the game plan and the structure and that kind of thing, the intensity that our players bring is always something that you can tell. And I mean, we say this every week. It's like we want to see it from the start of the game. And how often does that actually happen? So we feel like a bit of a broken record, but that hunger and that coming out of the blocks hard, like we did against West Coast last year, where watching that, it was like, whoa, we have just blown them out of the water here. And obviously we let them back in because that's what we used to do.
That's how we do it.
But we should be blowing them out of the water like that again. From the start, the hunger from everyone.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. And it's something that you want it from the start, obviously. But I think something that we've clearly lacked is being able to bring that intent, hunger, desire, whatever word you want to use to describe it, struggling to bring that consistently for a full game. And I know that we are always big advocates for. So there's going to be a moment in that game, whether it's a quarter, 10 minutes, whatever, that you're not going to be in control. The opposition are going to come out and play better football. That's just how things happen. There's going to be ebbs and flows in the game. But as long as you're thereabouts for majority of that contest, you can, leave the ground with your head held high. And we just haven't seen that enough. We've seen in for 5 minutes, disappear for far too long, in for 5 minutes. It's just not good enough. So I agree. We need to bring it from the start. Perfect opportunity to do that. Make the game, ending it early. That fact that West Coast will never even think they're in this game.
Yeah.
And then, just being able to hold that, which we, reflecting on it, we didn't do last year. So that's probably a good thing to try and fix. And my last one, my main one, I assume it was probably one of the first ones you wrote down on the lips of everyone at the moment. And it is around the game plan. And what I want to see is faster ball movement. I want to see us take that corridor on, want to risk to take the game on. Don't be scared of it. More handballs, please. And we'll get to this when we go on a bit more analysis around the stats and how we're using the ball currently. But I want us to move it faster because I think I said this on the review show that we do need an element of our game plan that is a bit more controlled. It's something that hurt us late last year. So I don't mind that this is something we're trying to put into the game plan. It just can't be all slow, kick mark, because the other team get to rush back. They get to set up defensively. And then you're relying on Harry or Charlie to have to take a contested mark or hoping that someone works ridiculously hard to create space or someone that can actually use the football really well. It's relying on too many little things that I think are so just percentage-wise harder to actually obtain compared to what I think you could do, which is the quick handball to create space. But then at times, if you need to, you can control the game. So that is what I'm looking for. And I've got some good news because guess who's come through with another scoop? You would not read about this, but our man Soj, Adrian Sal, has come back with another one. We've got to make this a weekly segment at this stage. Someone blare that siren. We've got breaking news. We got to cross to a live location where this man is to deliver us this news. Who God knows where he is, but
Soj is on fire. All right,
he has said. So he's given us a few. He's given us the McGovern injury. He's given us McGovern's playing. He's even gone out and thrown some jabs at the coaching staff for saying that TDK was sick, saying, mate, I saw him all week. He sounded pretty good to me. He didn't look any sick when he was, doing the drills with the children on Icon Park. So this man is everywhere. He is to the ground, and he's found another one. And he's not just at the club. He's going out and about to find these ones because he's spoken to an inside source.
Roaming Soj.
Father of a current player. Now, we can't leak too many of the details here, but we can confirm from this man who has spoken to his son, which I don't know how clearer communication you can get there. Fathers and sons don't lie.
Pretty good.
And he can confirm that a new game plan is currently being worked on. Now, we can't get too many details on this. There's sometimes for this, you can't, dig too deep. Otherwise, you'll never get let in again. But so the question is on this, is how big a change is this? And I'd love to get your thoughts on what you're thinking here, because is it a complete change? Is it an adjustment to how we're playing? Because it's good news regardless that clearly, even though Brad Lloyd has come out, defended the game plan, that someone here has gone, we need to change something a little bit here. So I can confirm through our source, Soj, that a new game plan is being worked on as we speak. So what do you reckon it is, Lockie?
So what do you think we're going to see? I guess that goes into some of our questions later on. But you reckon this is going to be impacting this weekend? Or are you looking at this as more of a longer-term thing? It's hard to know, but
it's the hard thing to know how quickly you can adjust certain things. And it kind of goes on why I think I've been so frustrated, because I feel that these are just such easy little tweaks of, let's stop first thing we do being, okay, stop and find and kick the mark in this boring game style. Whereas it needs to almost be choosing your moments for either, choosing to go fast, it's tempo play. And I feel like that's been probably gone too far the defensive route. So I'm hoping it is a bit more of us adjusting. We've got some ball users back in this team. We've got more run-off halfback that was a little bit depleted. Hopefully that's going to help the way we do it. So I don't know if we're going to see it fully formed, obviously, in a week, but I'm hoping to see enough little tweaks that we're not just seeing the same thing we've seen the last month or so.
Yeah.
So at least it's positive, I suppose.
Yeah, no, that's my take too. I think it's got to be. I mean, I would have less faith, I think, if I knew that it was a complete overhaul, because so what, everything that we were working on in the preseason and building up to now, we've decided needs to be completely scrapped. Like, that doesn't give me a lot of faith. So I'm sure it is more of a tweak kind of thing. Things have worked this year. Lots of things haven't. So I think it will be more tweaking. But you got to be happy about that.
And same with even going on that, like, if it was, say, a complete overhaul, which I don't believe it will be, is what do you do if you're a player and like your coach all of a sudden goes, boys, we'll rip that paper up. Here's another one. And you're going like, mate, you have no clue what you're doing then. So it's hard to keep that faith in. As we've probably spoken about, as I've touched on in this episode, there's an element of that slow, controlled game style we need as a layer. And so if we can properly build into this season, if we've gone in with this game plan, realized there's parts of it that doesn't work, we'll go back to a little bit of what we did last year. We'll take elements of it, build throughout, use this start of the season as a learning curve, win enough games, get to the bye like we were chatting about like last week. This is perfect. Like that is what you kind of want. Come into the game, come into the season, figure out what's not working, fix it, go hard in that second half of the season. So we're keeping the faith. We think that there's a possibility it can still work.
Absolutely.
They've just got to go out there and prove it. And that is the key sticking point here. Did you have any last little things that you wanted to see from this game before we move in to getting more of these lovely listener questions?
Yes, no, we've covered it all there. It's brilliant. I think, yeah. And it's not also just being able to say what the game plan is. It's also about the players buying into that with their decisions in every moment. And a lot of these things are kind of split-second decisions that they're making about like what the instruction is and how they should be going about things. So that can take time too, but hopefully we can see in this game, I mean, that's what this segment is, some players making those different decisions. We go, okay, there's something different here. But let's go to listener questions. And when you ask for questions towards the end of the week, a lot of them are going to be about selections. So we're going to be talking a lot about that, but we had one here from Cam Oxford. Bit of an easy question for you here, Ian. Bit of a softball. Will we play differently this week? I hope so. And I pray we see the Carlton of last season, playing like our very lives depend on it. Come on, Vossi, release the shackles and let the lads just fucking go for broke. How's that? That's like
we need
end
this
of
man
episode
needs
Ian
to,
hype up.
I was about to say we need this man to script my end of closing episode, hype big rants, because that's good. I like that from Big Cam, and I'm hoping so. And if we're listening to Soj, who has not been wrong yet, we have not got any wrong information so far. He's like 4 from 4 at this stage. I think we will. And I would be, regardless of whether we manage to get that scoop or not, I would be very surprised if we come here after that West Coast game and we see exactly the same thing we've seen for the start of the season. Because surely something would have had to have been adjusted. You would believe.
You would think so. It's just the thing that I'm worried about is us going with the same method and us managing to work because of the situation and the opposition and the matchups. And it's like, okay, well now just bombing it in there is working because look, it's bloody Tom Barras is the only man in this entire backline. So yeah. We'll play differently. Lock it in. Do you want to talk some selection stuff? Because all the questions we have here are about that kind of thing. How do you feel?
Are they all selection? They're all selection?
All selection.
We may as well just get into the selection and talk about it now and sort of change this around a little bit. But before we do, I just want to quickly say, if you want to get in touch with us, if you want to be getting your questions into us,
look at this.
Follow us on the socials, because at Navy Blue Corner on Twitter is where we do a lot of the back and forth answering questions, getting them in. So follow us on there. But Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, everything, we're on there. So keep in touch with us. And to never miss an episode, this is where the plugs come in. If you're on YouTube, mate, you're on make sure you subscribe. You'll never miss it. It's in. You click the subscription tab. Everything you'd ever want to see is in there. You get to see our beautiful faces. And then if you're on whatever preferred streaming platform you're on, wherever you're listening, chuck us a follow. Then you'll never have to miss it. You'll get notified.
Wow.
Get on the Apple podcast as well. Even if you don't have Apple Podcasts, get on, leave a review, 5 stars. I'll read it. I read 2 out. Yeah, exactly. Figure it out. I don't care how you do it. Steal a phone. I don't care. Write a review. And we'll read them out, because I read 2 out on the St. Kilda review episode, and I'm keen to read more out next week. So 5 stars, and I will read it. But yes, let's get into some listener questions. Talk about the selection changes, because it was a very interesting selection. And I'm so keen to get your thoughts, Lockie, because I definitely didn't expect the changes that happened to transpire. I wasn't expecting as many changes as I wanted, but in the end, in comes Adam Sard, Brody Kemp, and somehow from the grave, Sam Doherty has come back. It was 2 to 4 weeks. He's come back in 2 days. And then out Jesse Motlop from suspension. Cowan's been managed. O'Brien out of that squad. And the big shock is Matty Kennedy has been omitted. So, yeah, I guess what are the listener questions around that?
Well, this is a good kind of overarching one that can frame a lot of this discussion, because I feel like we may have some difference of opinions as we talk about this, not just with the specific players, but about this in general. So yeah, you've taken a lot of the words out of Rob Goulden's mouth here. 2 days ago, Doherty was listed as 2 to 4 weeks. Were we trying to pull a sneaky over the 17th place waffle team that we're playing this week? Does the club have an issue with being open and honest with its supporter base? What do you think about that?
It's definitely frustrating. We've spoken at length about the injury report, the lack of. I threw out a suggestion in the preview, in the review episode that like we need more around the guys that are injured and just a bit more content on them. I threw out a great suggestion. I thought Timmy Dubb loved it on Twitter. I said the injury corner where we get these boys and it's just montages of them lifting weights. Get the 80s music pumping and just do that. Good. That's better than nothing. You'd at least know David Cunningham does exist completely. But I don't know. You definitely have a bit more of a differing opinion on this. And I do like some of your take on that where you say like you love that any advantage you can get over your opposition is good. And so if that is making them think that a player is not available and then him being available, that's a good thing. And I do agree with that at elements. Would love to get your thoughts on this in particular situation, not to just completely throw words in your mouth. But with this one, for me, obviously the original diagnosis wasn't correct. And he's got better from whatever it was. And so I can understand that to an extent. But to have an injury report that we released on Tuesday, and it have still said 2 to 4 weeks from like 2 weeks ago or 1 week ago or whatever it was. I think it was like the 12th of April was the last time it was updated. And these are the things that like annoy me, where we have these stupid injury reports and they update you on 2 people per week, but there's like 8 blokes that still, they have not said anything. And the update still says, this was last updated December 1987. And you go, well, that doesn't help me at all. And in this instance, the lack of transparency for me is an issue around it. Like, just let us, you don't have to say he's going to play this week, but maybe just say he's tracking a lot better than normal. Like, we're just going to have to reevaluate the time frame for him. Anything for me on these players. Like, I'd like to know a bit more about them. And I feel to some degree we should be allowed that as supporters.
Yeah, no, it's very fair. I tell you what, we need next assignment for Soj. Have a chat to the team that does these injury reports and that kind of thing and get the scoop. Like, how much of this is attempted strategy, which I hear Rob's point here. I don't think that this is a strategic thing. I don't think that they've done this to try and surprise West Coast. It's funny because I don't really have a clear stance on it yet, because I'm with you as a fan. I want as much clarity and transparency on these kind of things as possible. Like, I live for that. I'd get updates every day if I could. Like you said, like, show us videos of like what's Cunners up to today. Like, if he's just having a day on the bike, I want to know.
I said, let me know what he bought from Chatty on the weekend. Like, just go through your fits, mate. Like, I don't care. Like, just something. Just tell me what they do on the weekend. What's your favorite coffee spot? Like, that's a nice time to do a bit of an interview with them, get an insight. I know sometimes the players may not want to do it, but surely just like, what's the routine today? What are you doing? Yeah, just a bit of bench press. Like, I don't care what it is. Just give me something.
I'm with you.
But
the bit that I struggle with is like trying to take the club on face value with things. And you and I have, like, over the life of this podcast, we've realized that, hey, we can't necessarily take these things at face value. Some of the stuff is going to be wrong. But you try and take stuff on face value when you can. So then Kennedy being omitted, and we've got the question from Harrison Petkovic. What did Kennedy do to get omitted? Not his fault. He got moved to defense. Do you think he was actually omitted?
I do. Weirdly. Do you think that he's potentially still carrying a bit of an injury and still a bit underdone from before he came back? Is that where you're thinking? Like, it's not on form. It's a bit of something else?
I'm just not convinced that the selection group think that we're more likely to win a game with Ed Curnow playing than Kennedy. That's a crazy take to me if that's what they're actually believing.
Yeah, and you kind of nail it when you say, like, it's almost like the more that they do lie, or what they have said ends up not being true, to say it even nicer than just throwing out the word lie. But the more that happens, the more that the information that's given to the fans proves to be incorrect. Sam Walsh could have played next week and he's gone for all of preseason, misses the first few rounds. Yeah. He's a test to play next week and he's gone for 6 weeks. The more that this happens, like, I can't blame any fan for looking at an injury report where a player says they're missing 1 to 2 and them going, he's out for the season, or even conversely saying, he's gone for the season and being like, look, he could play next week. And you can't blame anyone for having those opinions because you're not giving us any information. You're not giving us any hope. It's the boy who cried wolf here. You can't keep feeding us wrong information. And then it leads to the bigger point of, well, what else that you are telling us isn't correct? And that's where you get these conspiracy theories. That's where you get fans just, I don't know what the word is, but like the trust just being gone and just the negativity breeds from it because we just don't know what's true. We don't know what's right. Are we backing the game plan? Are we adjusting the game plan? Because if he came out and if Voss actually came out and was like, look, we've been trying this for a few reasons that obviously we can't sort of tell you guys because that's, a bit of IP. Hasn't 100% been working how we thought it would. We've seen some positive signs of it. There's a few things that maybe aren't working. Yeah, we're obviously always evolving. We're just going to keep tweaking it. We're going to make sure that whatever we're doing is going to be right for this team that gets us wins. If Vossi comes out and says that, which basically says he's taking a bit of accountability that things aren't working, they're changing things, but taking a positive spin to it, no one is going to be like, oh, Vossi's a shit coach. He's had to change his game plan. I think he'd be more heralded for that. And who cares? It'll be like a week that someone has an article on it, and then next week they've forgotten about it. So I don't think that that's a bad thing, and it's better than saying, oh, we're sticking to it, where it turns out you might potentially just be changing things. It's just this weird narrative around this club that is breeding the negativity in it. And I don't want to harp back to it, but it's kind of the stuff that we're getting frustrated around selection and around transparency in the Teague era. That we were going, yes, okay, we've got new president, we've got new CEO, new coaching group. Let's hope that this changes. And to see these things rear its head again has been where I think the frustration's built for the fan base and definitely myself.
No, I think you've nailed that. I think we generally are pretty aligned with this kind of thing now, but it just makes it hard for me to kind of analyze this properly because I mean, I just can't get over this fact. Like on the Kennedy example. Like I know it's just one word but it's a big deal for us and for supporters watching, particularly when people are like, oh, okay, we're going to try Kennedy down back and, oh, I don't think that's going to be great. And then you see this. I don't know. That's kind of the narrative a lot of people are going with. But for me, it's Kennedy is one of our 22 best players. And he's someone that even if there's too many even if we haven't got room in the CBAs right now, there is players playing here that are not of the quality that Matt Kennedy is. Yeah.
No, and it's such a weird one. Like, let's just talk about it now because this is where I think all Carlton sports has been fired up. Everyone wanted a bit of a statement. They gave us one, but it's probably not the statement we were wanting. It's a weird one because you're talking about Matt Kennedy, a guy that came in. They've thrown him to halfback, a position that is definitely not his position. I think if you had thrown him to that forward role of an Ed Curnow, you wouldn't like it, but you'd be like, I've seen him play that before. I get it. He hasn't played great football in a position that's not his. And then immediately we've got some halfbacks back and we go, yep, dropped. And I just think that is, I just feel like that's such a bad thing to do to a player that you've asked to play an unfamiliar role that you definitely would not have planned for in preseason. You're going to him being like, mate, I need you to play this role for the team. He's gone ahead and done it. He's probably done just as good as you probably expected him to. And then you just drop him. You don't give him back into the midfield. You don't try him somewhere else. And the frustration comes again from that point you're saying. In fact, he's in over an Ed Curnow, who offers less if you put him in the midfield. And I would say less in the forward line, less going forward because it's probably one of his last seasons. Matt Kennedy's better in basically every single thing you could say, except maybe running capacity, which does that really matter that much when you compare the two? Why is he not ahead of Ed? And I would say even further that not a lot of people have kind of spoken about is, okay, let's say you're keeping Ed there. Let's say you're keeping the other halfbacks. You're telling me on current form, Kennedy can't keep his spot over George Hewitt? Who I think has been playing worse football than Matt Kennedy has. It raises some weird questions. And I'm not sure if that's the best message to send to a player. Like if you're Matt Kennedy right now, you're like, I'm a midfielder. And they're like, play halfback. And you're like, fine, whatever for the team. And then like, yeah, you're dropped. You'd be like, get stuff. Like, I'm doing this for you guys, and now you're dropping me. Like, it just seems a bit weird. And for it to, and I guess we'll have to kind of see, and I'm trying to temper this a little bit on my frustrations of, I do need to wait and see what happens, because who knows, maybe this is a masterstroke. Maybe Matt Kennedy isn't in this midfield mix with what they're planning to do. But on face value right now, it just seems bizarre that he's not chosen over others currently. It just seems very bizarre.
Yeah, I agree. And I feel like I've raised this a few times, and it's just because I don't see this kind of mentioned as much in the discourse. And this is me kind of, I guess, backing in the club a bit and taking this on face value. So if we're saying that he's not omitted because clearly, like, we're saying he can't be omitted because he's playing worse than other people in the team, right? We agree that he should be in based on form. Well, then there has to be something else going on. And there's so many things that we don't know about the club. Maybe there is something. People joke about things like, oh, God, what's Paddy Dow got on Michael Voss? Like, he's got something that, and people joke about that. But it's like, maybe there is something that's going on with Kennedy here. Maybe there's something training-wise, something personnel-wise, where he isn't delivering on the standards that we don't get to see. And it's such a hypothetical bullshit kind of thing to say. But I feel like I have to mention it because we're baffled if it's omitted based on form. So if I'm backing them in, then maybe there's something going on we don't know about. I don't know if that's a good case scenario or not.
It does make sense. And like, whether we agree with what their thinking is or not, which I believe most people wouldn't. Like, if you're looking at what they're doing right now, they could be saying that, like, Hewitt, whatever he's currently doing is the role that they have said, and Kennedy, when he was in the midfield, wasn't doing the role that they wanted, or whether they just think the mix is wrong, whatever it is.
Sure.
There could be an element, and it's hard. The hard thing with this is, from an outside point of view, it's hard to see him as the only one that's omitted if you're taking the line of he's not doing something that the coach is asking for, when it looks like there's so many others that aren't doing it.
Totally.
And that's kind of the hard part of this. Like, obviously there's a reason he was omitted, whether it was when he got the ball in certain areas, he was going against the directive that they wanted. They wanted him to move it this way, and every single time he didn't do it. That could be a reason. But the hard part comes back to where you're looking at Honey, you're looking at Fisher, you're looking at these other guys who we are saying are not playing and performing how we believe they should. And you're going, surely they're not adhering to what the instruction is or playing in form, because if they are, then I have more issues than just this omission. And I think that's where it comes from, like, what I wanted to see and why I wanted so many changes, because there's guys playing good in the twos, and there's guys that I don't believe are playing well in the ones. And I just think that there needs to be more of a whether they're better or not. And I think they've kind of made their decision up with these changes, where Voss and the coaching group have clearly said, blokes in the twos don't trust you. That's what I'm seeing. That's the messaging I'm getting. I don't know if that's how you feel.
Yeah.
And with that, whether they are better or worse, I kind of just wanted to see them for the sake of, you kind of need to make an example. Like Ross Lyon it's come out and said it with Mason Wood, that if you're not doing it, someone else will. And whether they play better than you or not, if they're just at least doing what I'm asking, if they're putting it in, surely that's a kick up the backside a few of these players need. But yeah, I guess I'd love to know your thoughts on what changes you kind of wanted, and kind of the statement piece of it, because I know you're never 10 changes, whereas I normally tend to be. So I'd love to kind of get your thoughts on who you probably wanted in and out for this week.
I know, and I'm very keen to hear yours too. The last three kind of relate to this. So Superbad says he's happy that Kemp is in, but baffled with the Kennedy one, which is very fair. Our friend Jess Goats, what more do Dow and Carroll have to do to get a game in this team? And then finally from Michael C. Madden, will we see TDK come in for JSOS in the coming weeks? Young helps in the ruck. TDK stays as a legit third tall. I'd love to hear you first with the changes you would like to see. Any of those guys, would they have been coming in? TDK, Carroll, Dow, Bins.
Well,
go off, King.
It's hard. If I'm throwing in, I redid my changes on the provision that Doherty was actually fit, and it basically kind of ended up being Doherty comes in, Curnow comes out, Sard straight swap, for Ed. Sorry, for Cowan. Because then that basically, I think Cowan's at a point where
Ed Curnow's coming out 6
He's
times.
dropped twice. That's on brand. That is on brand for me. So that's a great Freudian slip there, to be honest. But like we lost the extra defender, which is why Kennedy and Chair have been playing down there. So Ed comes out because I just don't want to see him in there. Doherty goes to defense. Cowan, he's playing a bit more of a lockdown role. So I kind of am like, okay, just you've had a good run in the ones. Go into the twos, get that running back up and about, get some more confidence, have a bit of a rest. Sard comes back in, obviously. I then have gone Hewitt out on form. I've brought Dow in to reward what he's been doing and just do something different in that midfield. Fisher, I haven't been enjoying his game, so I think Binns had come in for that. I think it just adds more versatility, more pace around the ball, a better kick as well, which is what, if we want to play this kick game style, Binns has been one of the most. He's like kicked, I think he's like number 2 or something for most kicks in the VFL, which is insane, if not number 1. Then Honey, I don't like how he's playing, so I would have brought in Carroll. Again, just it's not a like for like, but just something, a different dynamic, change things up slightly. And then Motlop, obviously, with the suspension. Fogarty plays most similar to his role in the twos. He would come in. Ideally, originally, I think I did have TDK coming in for Silvani as well, potentially, just to have that like, don't think both of them play well. TDK to exploit their ruck issue of West Coast. But I don't know. That's a big talking point this week is like, well, what's going on with De Koning? Because he's out of contract, which means everything is more heightened. It's 2 weeks now. He's not playing. What's he got to do to get back in? But I think it's between him and Silvani. You can kind of flip a coin between those two at the moment. But I wanted big changes. I wanted everyone that's playing well in the twos in. But I'm fine with Kennedy.
No Kemp?
Kemp wasn't in mine just because I had more run in that back line. But if I want to just quickly address the Kemp coming in now, I'm just talking nonsense.
Go off.
I don't mind him coming in for Cowan. I would have preferred maybe a more run of a Boyd or something like that. But Cowan has been playing more lockdown, so I can kind of understand why they brought in Kemp. But I'm excited for Kemp to get an opportunity because he has been playing well in the twos. So I'm glad they rewarded someone, and we can kind of see what he's like at AFL level.
Mate, it's funny because if that was what happened, I'd be happy. It's like, I see the logic behind all of that. Like for me, it would just be 4 changes for me, just 4 changes. But I agree with everything. For me, I would find a place for TDK though.
And it seems ridiculous to like for me to be making this many changes and bringing in all these players that, go back to the tier list video we did where I don't rate these guys very highly at all. And it's just that frustration of, well, the guys out there that I thought were really good aren't doing it. Now, technically, will the guys that are worse be able to do better? Probably not, but
I know.
It's for me, it's all been around this like reward form to make these guys in the twos keep not knocking the door down and punishing bad form in the ones. That was kind of it. But I do understand that some people will look at that and say it's just way too many. It's ridiculous. But I was hoping for something, and I guess we got a fraction of the changes really this week.
I think with how the narrative has gone for us this season, though, I don't think making changes like that would have been looked at negatively. Like, if we go out there next week with changes like that and dish up a shocking performance, then I think that would be more well-received than running it back and doing the same thing and losing to West Coast. Like, that's the absolute worst-case scenario. But I mean, Honey and Curnow were the 2 for me that it's like, it's just not giving anywhere near enough to be deserving of a selection. Motlop has to come out, and then the Cowan thing out, I get as well. Like if he's not, it needs to be managed, then that's that. That's cool. Yeah,
I get it. Those would have been my first out on form, and then the rest were more just me getting very angry at what I'm seeing and wanting change for the sake of change, really. But I think you nailed it with naming those ones. Do you have any other sort of questions on the team changes or any other thoughts that you kind of wanted to give on this? Because it's just it's an interesting week of changes.
All right. Spontaneous trivia time for you, Ian. Good segue for me.
Here we go.
Because every week, it feels like every week, we're like, oh, hang on, there's a bloody milestone this week. Out of nowhere. You aware that there's a milestone this week?
No. I have not been aware that there's been a milestone the last 4 weeks, I'll be honest.
This is what I'm saying. So, that's why I got some trivia for me. And I'm glad you're not going to spoil this one for me. So
I will say before we get into this, this is I'm a little bit disappointed you haven't made the sting yet for this one. It's very me soft launching the Hall of Fame where I brought it up, was hoping it did well at the start, but I just wanted to let people know that this is something that has been spoken about off pod, that this man Lockie is going to be bringing me random trivia to call me out and show that I know nothing about this football club. And at any time throughout the episode,
no.
He will just press a button, hopefully when this sting's created. And I've just got to be on the back foot defensive, and I've just got to get ready and hope I can nail it.
I mean, that's the plan, unless I'm open to feedback. If I get some feedback on this, doesn't work, we don't want to hear, we rely on Ian for his takes and, his knowledge. And this just exposes him as not having any of it truly. So if we have that, I don't want that to be a part of this show. But this is the trivia for this week. So I want you to tell me, and I think you'll actually do well at this, I'm hoping. I want you to tell me who the next players are or on track to hit each milestone. So who's the next player that's going to get to, who's the closest to getting to 250, 200, 150, 150? So let's start with 250. Who's the closest player to 250 games? And I don't want to see you Googling over there, Brownie.
Well, okay, I'll have my hands here. I'm writing down. I was actually writing down 250, 200 on my notebook.
It. No, I like that. I like that.
So just so I could think. Well, I'll be honest. This is where this segment will start out by exposing me, because the one thing I'm not good at is knowing how old people are and how many games they've played. Everything is a blur to me as far as that's concerned. So I would say just based on age, maybe 250. Ed?
Yes. Nailed it.
Oh, I've nailed the first one. That's enough. Everything else can be just a waste now, and I don't mind.
I knew you'd get that one because we've only got one 200 gamer. So then, who's the closest to 200?
Closest to 200. Oh,
AKA our second most experienced player.
See, you'd think it's probably Nick Newman on age, but I don't think it is, because this man hasn't played a lot of football games. Cripper's played a fair few. Doc's missed a few seasons. Who else is old in this team? Who else is pushing on age in there? I'm just trying to rattle off players in my head. I'm going to go Cripper. Let's go Cripper for 200.
Nailed it.
2 from 2. 2 from 2.
He's 2 from 2.
That's exciting.
All right, we're going good here. I feel like it gets harder with each one.
Yeah.
So, and spoiler, this guy is on track to have his 150th the week after this week. Who would that be?
I'm going to go for what I just spoke about there. I'm going to go Nick Newman for a curveball. Is it not? Just because he's been there for ages but hasn't played a lot of games?
Yeah, isn't it crazy? Nick Newman's played 92 games. Nowhere near it.
Really? 92? Well, he might be my next one for 100 then. Whee! Maybe I've snagged that little bit of information. Unless he's thrown that to throw me off the scent.
So 150 is Doc.
Okay, that's
the week
after
this one, he's expected to be there.
There you go. Gee, a lot of milestones this year. Watch us lose them all, because we never seem to win in the milestone games.
And there's a few here. There's a few here in this 100-game patch too. So this is just assuming health and assuming that you play every game
from now on.
Who's closest to 100? And I'm going to tell you, Nick Newman's played 92, but the guy who is closest has played 93.
90. Oh, by beating by 1.
Yep.
Okay. So let's think. Jack Silvani just played his 100th. Zach Fisher's just played his 100th. So I'm thinking around
Chera, his 100th.
That crop. Wiedering played it last year. So around that. Oh, it's got to be Harry Mackay.
Oh.
No? He's already played his 100th?
Great guess.
He's close.
He's on 92 as well. 93. Give me one more guess. Charlie's on 90. How close are all these?
Gee, I'm picking all the 90s. This is unbelievable.
I got to give you one more.
It's David Cunningham. No.
You've chosen all 90s. Give me the other guy in the 90s.
I can't think of anyone else from around that time period, which is hurting me. I can't think of them.
That's right.
Can't do it.
Mitch McGovern is on 90.
Really? Only 100? Good Lord, that's bad.
I know.
I would have never got that in a million years.
Young.
Okay, can I come back and get the win?
The final.
Here?
Well, it's the man who's playing his 50th game this weekend.
This week. Oh shit. Okay. I need to almost picture the team in my head here. Picture the team in my head. Who's there? Who could be around 50 games? Who could be around the 50 games? In the back line. Definitely not Sard, Doc, Gov, Wiedering. Young maybe. I don't know. I reckon he's played less. Who else? Akers definitely played longer. Pitt. What's Pitt? Pitt could be close. It's Pitt or Young so far. Forward line. This is great. It's a great listing. I'm glad everyone at home is enjoying this.
That's the feedback I'm going to get on this. Cut this.
Just cut Ian's thinking time, or we'll just play some fun music over the top.
This does need some music behind it.
I can't think of anyone on the forward line. Gee, Pitt or Young. I'm going to guess the wrong one regardless, I reckon. Give me Pitt. Oh, it's Young. Of course. Oh, it's always one.
You don't know this team. I always knew you were a Suns supporter.
Got the scarf somewhere.
Pitto's next. He's on 46.
Oh, so I got close. I'm happy that I'm in the ballpark.
You actually impressed me there. There
was no one that was. If there was someone that's played like 300 games, and I was like, "Is he playing his 50th game this week?" That would have been the concern. But that's not bad. I like the soft launch. You've made me look not too much like an idiot. That's good.
How has Nick Newman played that many games? Isn't that crazy?
It's insane. It really is. But I think probably to just wrap up the talking of the team changes, because I know everyone that's been the hot topic, and I think a lot of people are probably expecting me to explode a bit more than I am. I think I was annoyed initially, very annoyed. I've kind of moved to a different mindset, which is, okay, you've backed them now. Vossi and the coaching group and whoever's on team selection has backed in the same guys week in, week out, backed in the game plan, backed in everything right now. There are no excuses this week. We've been calling for changes for the past month. He has said, no, these are the guys that will do it. So show me. Like, if they're not going to do it this week, I don't even know what happens. But it's time to put up or shut up. So that's the way I'm taking it this week. Maybe that's a bit more positive. Not sure it is. Maybe it's me just waiting for disaster. But my take this week is you've backed them. So show me something. But it's very interesting. But there's another. Now we'll change it a little bit because we've gone all over the run sheet. We'll go towards.
That's what we do.
Putting our West Coast Eagles hats on, going a bit through an opposition analysis, I suppose. So there's not a lot that, honestly, we should be worried about too much. And maybe those words will come back to haunt me quite a lot. But I'll speed through this quickly.
Adelaide. Yeah, no, please do. I love this.
So I'll be honest. I'll put my hand up firstly and say that I have not watched a lot of West Coast games this season, because if I have, I'd probably be in a mental institution, because surely no one would put themselves through that kind of viewing. No one would want to watch a West Coast game. But going off little bits I've seen quarters here or there, going off as much deep diving as I have this week and looking at their team. We'll start at the back line. It's not that bad. Probably their best area, to be honest, looking at their back line. It's got the most consistent names through it. It doesn't have as many injuries. I think Jeremy McGovern's probably the only big out there. Shuey's back in this week. Not Shuey, sorry. Hearn's back in this week for Shuey. But their backline run's probably the one thing I would worry about, really. If you look at the names they've got down there, they've got Jones, they've got Witherden, they got Duggan and Hunt, who has played a bit wing but also can play off halfback. Knowing that's been an issue that we've struggled with, containing teams running off halfback, and knowing our bad forward entry, knowing that's probably their strength at the moment, that's probably the cause for concern is if we struggle to stop their run and transition from halfback, we're going to run into some issues, because that's probably a strength for them at the moment. So that's probably the main thing. Looking at the midfield, in theory, not heaps to worry about. No Shuey, Sheed, or Elliot Yeo. They are massive outs. No Nick Natanui in the ruck as well. So the ruck stocks are lacking. The ruck conversation's a bit interesting, because I think Bailey Williams, it's a weird matchup for Pitternet. Piternet's good at the taps, not good at much else. Bailey Williams not good at the taps. He's a lot more around the ground, winning the ball beneath his feet. Like he's a lot better at that. They're kind of the opposites. So that matchup is something I'm interested to see how it goes. Hoping the lack of midfield power for them, lack of hit out power for them allows us to finally get an ascendancy in the clearances. Midfield gets on top. But I mean, they've got, as I said, they've got the run of Hunt. They've got the run of a Gaff. Got a Cully, a Jimby, those guys that are sort of hard workers in there. So they're not going to make it easy for us.
Yeah.
But we should be dominating in that area. And then lastly, their forward line. Look, there's not heaps and heaps to look out for. But Oscar Allen, I'll throw this out there for you. I'll throw a bit of trivia out there your way. He is one of three players this season to have kicked multiple goals in every game this year. Can you name me the other two?
Oh, wow. That is...
Multiple goals in every game this year. Oscar Allen and two more.
I guess I'll go Jezza.
Yep.
And then 2 goals in every game.
When you think about it, it is pretty simple.
I don't want to expose myself.
It should be easy. Yeah, it is. It's Ed. No, it's of course Charlie. It's the leading goal kickers there. But interesting, though, Oscar Allen, he's their focal point up forward and has been in good form. So he's someone that we obviously do need to stop. They don't have a Liam Ryan in there. They don't have a Jamie Cripps. But, Jack Darling is a fine, to not be too offensive to him. It's like he's a decent footballer. He's not bad. He's not excellent. But he can cause you some issues if you don't shut that down and if you don't prevent the fast entries, which we've been struggling to do. Teams have been tearing us apart. Darling likes to move and he's a mobile forward, so that could hurt us. And the only other person I'd say to look out for is a Jake Waterman, who always seems to play well against us. He's another hardworking lead-up player. So those are the kind of players that could hurt us if we play as poorly as we probably have in weeks and that they get the ascendancy in that midfield battle. And Jai Carley kicked a few goals. I think he kicked 4 or something the other week. So he's another player that's got a few tricks to him that can do a bit in there. Those are the players to worry about, I suppose. But again, on top of all of this, if we just do the things right, we'll be fine. But it's that delivery inside 50 and turnover, rebound that could expose us if we don't play well. But that's sort of the things to look out for from a West Coast point of view.
That's good. No, I like that. There's no excuses at all.
None.
There is not a single one.
Can you dangle those keys for me, Lockie? Because you know what time it is. It's the keys to winning. That is this segment. I don't have a sting yet.
We need a producer.
We do, because we don't have the time for this. So if someone's actually good at video editing and can find and make all these things for us, wants to make a sting, put your hand up. Let us know. Hit us up at Navy Blue Corner on social. Please. Or email us at thenavybluecorner@gmail.com. And send in your resume and we might select you and we might try to work together to create these things. But the keys to winning is one of the favorite parts of this. So if I had my keys around me, I would, to make that noise. The question is, how do we win this game? Lockie, I want to open this to you firstly. If you were to nail one thing, I know we've said there what we want to see, but I offer you one thing. And if this is done well, we win the game. The one thing. What would it be? What would it be?
Wow. Oh, my God. That's such a hard question.
It is. And I don't have it. It wasn't on my run sheet. I've just thrown that off the cuff. So I don't even have an answer. So I ask it. So I give myself time to think of a great response. See you fumble the bag here. And I come in and just nail it.
I don't want to give a stupid answer, like more goals than them, like that kind of thing. You know how people would say something like
outscore them and we win the game.
That's like so funny. But it's funny because the first thing that came to mind was kind of what you spoke about dominating the midfield battle, like Pitt getting on top and dominating the midfield. But that isn't enough for me right now. Like that does not tell me that we're definitely going to win. We could dominate the midfield battle and lose. So I guess that's why it comes back to the forward half.
Yeah.
It's what happens in the forward half. I don't have a good answer for this. You go.
No, I think you're kind of alluding to what I would have kind of said, and it's hard because it feels like it's everything is the one answer, but it's literally like ball movement and the way that we are moving the ball and delivering the ball, and that's kind of it. And I'll I'll pivot to what I did have written down to then go back to this point later. And I won't do it as seamlessly. I'll kind of let you know what's going to happen. It's one of those, like, we'll start at the end, then we'll go back to the beginning and we'll slowly get back to it. It's one of those ones. But I want to look at the statistical profile right now to see our improvement areas and how to do it, and then what that will mean when we fix it. Because ball movement's been the issue, game plan's been the issue as far as what we believe, because we believe the crop of talent out there, we're not getting the most out of them. So I'll throw some things out there for you. Currently, we are ranked number 2 for marks in the whole AFL. We're number 1 for contested marks, which is ridiculous. Believe for that one as well. I didn't get the information for this one, but I believe it's close to being like Charlie and Harry, like number 1 and 2 for this individually, which is insane. But we're 15th for marks inside 50 and 14th for inside 50s in general. So clearly what this is telling me, just based off that, is you're getting plenty of the ball. You're just not getting in the right areas. Really. Yeah. Is that what that's telling?
That fits the narrative of what we're saying, I think. So for sure.
Yeah. And like, I guess off that, looking at the contested marks, like it's a bit of that. It's the personnel over system to an extent. Like, we're getting bailed out by our forwards being so good, and we're just not doing it right. And the St Kilda game was the perfect example of this. Like, we were marking the ball and getting it in our back half, but we just could not penetrate forward inside our 50. Like, we could not get it over the halfway line, and then could not get it into our forward 50. And when you're just chipping around, getting the marks up, and then only getting bailed out by contested marks, there's no space. And this is the interesting part of this, because we're actually 4th ranked for rebound 50s, which is not something I would have expected. And then looking at what we're doing with the ball, and sort of compare that as well to, like, we're actually 15th for clearances, for winning clearances, and we're 10th for hitouts. So midfield's not doing well.
Yeah.
We're marking the ball a lot, and we're rebounding a lot from defense. The way we're using the ball is the issue. Second for kicks currently, but we're 11th for handballs. And there's clearly discrepancy there. So I think what that is kind of telling me right now, obviously we're not getting enough inside 50s and then marks from those inside 50s, but we're getting plenty of the ball.
Yep.
If we do less kicks and more handballs, theoretically, that should basically equal like faster ball movement, because what's happening, the kick mark allows time for people to set up elsewhere. Yes, you're moving the ball quicker. In a sense, it's going further, but I don't think the way that we are kicking the ball is helping that. It seems to be chipping it around to try and find. It's a methodical kick mark game style. If we were to incorporate more handballs and move that up, it creates more space, because if you're handballing to someone else, there's more pace around the football. That equals more spread. More spread from the contest, which also, if we talk about clearances, you win more clearance, have more effective clearances, more effective hitouts. There's more space for the man in possession, which equals less pressure, better delivery of the ball inside 50, more space everywhere. It seems like it's so stupid and so simple, and clearly
it's
AFL coaches would know this thing. But when you're able to diagnose, I think, the problem of the slow, methodical game plan is clogging up the space. And if we're incorporating more handballs, if we're winning more clearances, doing these things, you're moving the ball away from the congestion fast. And then if you still kick, it's fine, because you're kicking to space. But we're currently not doing that. We're padding our stats, trying to find the easy option that's never seemingly there. And then the last stat I'll throw up is we're 17th for ground ball gets. Now, that is contested possessions at ground level. That is what ground ball gets are. Winning contested possession at ground level. Now, that to me equals winning or losing the critical contests. So if you win more of those, you're winning the ball at ground level in good position, critical contest, to then move the ball away. Again, it's spread. And all these things currently we're not doing, which is hurting us. I think the positive is we're 4th for rebound 50. So we're moving it from a decent area. We're kind of seemingly getting it from these turnovers inside D50. But that movement isn't working for us, and we're not able to do it effectively. So that's kind of then leads back to the ball movement. If we get these things right, if we do all these little things, it kind of equals good delivery inside 50. I guess, what do you make of the stats I've thrown out and me trying to diagnose the issues that currently plague this football team?
I think you've nailed it. I think we need to get that into Soja's hands, feed that back into the club, make sure No, I think you're right.
It's two-way communication at this stage.
I mean, that's truly a key jingler too, if I've ever heard it. Like you've expressed it well. And therefore, I think inside 50 efficiency is what I want to put as my key because, as you kind of spoke about with where West Coast lack and that kind of thing, when there is no reason we should have any issue getting the ball in there this weekend.
Yeah.
So it's going to be about making sure that we're getting it in there in the right way, with the right speed in the right areas, and then the forwards do their job as well. That's got to be the key.
And if we're able to be more efficient with our ball moving inside there and actually utilize the strengths that we have, our strength are the two of the best forwards in the game and getting them good looks at goal. And we haven't been doing that. Haven't been getting it in there enough, clearly. 14th for inside 50s. Like these two, if you dominate inside 50s, there's like not a way we lose this game of football.
I know.
I think that's it. Like that is it. If we get it in well enough,
come on,
can't lose. It's simple analysis, but it has to be done. But yes, that's pretty much the keys to winning. I mean, let us know in the comments if you're watching on YouTube. Get us on the socials at Navy Blue Corner. Let us know your thoughts on that. What do you want to see this week? Hit us with 3 things. What are the keys to winning? Anything else we need to look out for from West Coast? Your thoughts on the team changes, any of that. We're always keen to chat. Drop us, get into our DMs, tweet at us, anything like that. Even email us. Remember, the Navy Blue Corner at gmail.com. I'm getting all the plugs in. It's not too bad. But what I'm not a pro at, Lockie, footy tips. It's clearly footy tips.
How did you go last week?
Well, I did the same as you the week prior. I got 7 out of 9. But we know here at the Navy Blue Corner that 7 out of 9 doesn't cut it. That's not good enough.
That is better than I thought as well.
I agree. I could not believe it. But for me to stay in charge of the footy tips, I have to beat what you did the week prior. Unfortunately, I didn't do that. So this time, it's Lockie's time for the tips. Now, if you happen to get 8, all you'd have to do then to keep being in charge of the footy tips is to get your same score. The only time you have to beat a score is you have to beat the other person's to get in. So that's it. So here we go. Actually, no, that doesn't work because then. Oh no, it does. It does. It works. I'll eventually get it.
But doesn't it mean that if I get 9 this week, then I can't be off the throne? Is that what we're saying?
Or maybe we'll have to do something for 9.
Look,
clearly, it's a work in progress. This one hasn't been thought about. I guess I just don't ever expect anyone to get 9, but we'll cross that bridge when we get to it. Automatically.
We'll talk about that next week when I nail these.
But we've got to do the footy tips for this week. And I'm very excited because we need to be better than this. We need to be better than 7 out of 9. Currently, we're 179th out of 309 in the Carlton Cheer Squad footy tipping competition. Well, I've just got to spruik this tipping competition and say that, let's do a bit of...
It means there's some high performers in this league because we're great at tipping. So all those people above us are elite.
What's insane is I'm like second in my work footy tipping. That everyone's actually doing pretty well. And in this, I don't know what's happened. The wheels have fallen off. Apparently, Carlton Supporters, great at tipping, which is frustrating for our sake. I think we need to reevaluate this.
We'll get them.
At this stage, maybe a win of this competition, finishing top 3 to get these prizes. Maybe that's not in our wheelhouse. Let's still aim for that. Clearly, winning mentality. But I think we've got to break this down smaller. We've got to break this down smaller, Lockie, into chunks to get to our goal.
I like that.
What do we need to be breaking in, next week? What are these little benchmark targets we're going to set for ourselves to be slowly moving up this ladder? Where do you want to be in a few weeks' time? Because we're 179th. Where do you want to be? A few weeks' time, Lockie.
I mean, I don't know.
I'm saying top 100, mate. We need to get in that top 100 and then we can start talking about it. So let's do it. Let's get into these tips. What
this makes me think then is, do we need to get aggressive? Do we need to start looking at some upsets? And anyway, we'll go through it. That's where my head's at. I'll say that.
Weirdly, this is going to be maybe stupid for me. If we keep getting 7 out of 9, I think we'll bloody get up there because that's good. But
it is good.
Clearly, it's not enough currently, and maybe I don't know. Feel free to go for all the upsets you want, and then I'll just be in that chair next week. This is a hard thing. I feel like we're competing against ourselves now when we both want to be winning. But maybe that's the little push we need, like having someone performing in the 2s, ready to steal your spot at any stage. You've got to be onto it. But let's start. Friday night, Marvel Stadium, the informed St Kilda take on Port Adelaide. Who's your winner, and what is the margin?
Oh, mate. And see, this is...
Danger game.
You know what? I'm in charge. I'm
aware.
Port by a 6.
Well, I'll be in the chair next week. Don't worry about that, listeners. We'll be in the chair. Enjoy that one.
They cannot keep doing this. They cannot keep doing this.
Okay, I'll say what. Okay, I'm gonna put my balls on the table here. Maybe not. Maybe I shouldn't do that. We'll never be allowed on YouTube again. Thank God this is. Maybe we'll ban the YouTube for this week. Lucky it's an audio podcast for those listening at home. If Port Adelaide win, regardless of your tips, you can have it next week. You can have it next week.
I appreciate that.
That's how confident I am. Watch that egg on my face next week.
Dude, you love the Saints. What were you talking about last week? You love them.
Mate, they're just, they come marching in. Brisbane versus Fremantle at the Gabba.
Lions.
Beautiful. Sydney versus GWS at the Sydney Cricket Ground. Do the Giants wear their good jumper for this one? Or is that only like home games? I don't really understand. But who wins this one?
Doesn't matter to me. Got to be Sydney.
Marvel Stadium. We head at 4:35 p.m. Western Bulldogs take on the Hawks.
Gee, very short favourites here, aren't they? I think this will be the Dogs as well. No swerves here for me.
Gee, I'm excited for the only tip you get wrong this week to be St Kilda Port. Melbourne versus North Melbourne at the G. $10 for North Melbourne here. My God.
If that happens, that's almost me off, even if I get the 8.
Upset? Is this your upset?
No, I wouldn't have thought so. Our boy's out as well. So, D's.
Yeah. Issue for our supers. Definitely D's there. Then we go to our clash. Baggies. Are you tipping against us? Are you going West Coast or are you going the Baggers? Never. Maybe that's the downfall. We've been tipping us.
I was going to say that.
Sunday. Red hot until about 3/4 time. They did a Carlton in round 23. It was Essendon last week. Now playing Geelong. Who are you taking in this one? Probably a tough game this week, but
it could be. Geelong? It could be, but I'm going to go with Geelong. Yeah.
Yep. Now, we've got a few left. We've got Richmond at Marvel, where Dimmer will be very happy to trek down there versus the Gold Coast Suns. No Took.
No Took, yeah, exactly right. Tigers. Dimmer will love that.
Adelaide.
Now, this is interesting.
Adelaide versus Collingwood.
Collingwood. I know that would feel like a sexy swerve.
That's the one. Yeah, that's I think where I would have done the swerve.
The integrity of these tips. I think there's going to be people like us on their podcast talking about the Carlton cheer squad tipping, and they're going to look at that game as the one to swerve, and they would be wrong. I'm going to say Collingwood by under a goal.
Yeah, that's huge. That's good from you. I think that's where I would have gone the simpleton move of the Adelaide win there and keep everything pretty much the same.
No.
Yeah.
Pie's going to be top of the ladder after this week.
I'll hit submit, and we will be getting 6 out of 7 on those.
6 out of 7.
6 out of 7. That's maths. 6 out of 9 is the thing there. But yes, that is the footy tipping done. That's basically this episode done.
Hype me up.
Wow.
We got to.
I don't know if I've got
this segment too.
See, this is the thing. It's all off the cuff, which is the hard part, and I don't know if I'm that up and about because my thing at the moment, I don't think I should have to come on here and hype the boys up and hype the fans up anymore. I'm a bit sick of it, Lockie. I'm a bit sick of the same players getting trotted out, the same way we move the ball, week in, week out, nothing changing. So this week, the pump up isn't for the fans. The pump up is for the boys on the field and Vossi and the coaches the president and the boot man, the man washing the boots every week. It's for them. Sort it out. Lockie's left. He's gone already, but no, I just want you to win, and I want you to do it convincingly. Everything we've talked about in this podcast, we can see it. The fans can see it. We know how we need to win this game of football. We know we have to be beating a depleted, poor West Coast team, and there's no excuses. Falling over and limping over the line like we've done in the last few weeks isn't good enough anymore. We need a statement. You want a platform to fix everything, to go forward with some confidence. This is that game. And the Baggers are going to bloody do it. And they're going to win by over 100 points. The lovely WA Blues supporter base, they're going to be happy. They're going to be cheering it. And if anyone's making the journey over, if there are any WA Blues supporters over there, which I know there are so bloody many of you, because I've been over there so many times, and the functions are always amazing. Well, guess what, guys? You know what you've got to do. You know what you've got to do. You've got to be at the Camfield for their pre-match function at 2 p.m. It's literally at the ground. It's a lovely pub, the Camfield. Go there. There is a WA supporters group function. They're going to have raffles. They're going to have auctions. They're going to have speakers, guest speakers from the club. This is the big shout out for the WA Blues. Dad will be happy. It is there. Gold coin donation is all you need to be doing to get into the ground. And if you're traveling, it is great. You get to speak to some amazing people there. It's a very family-friendly vibe at the place. It's a lot of fun. So if you're over in WA, make sure you get over to the Camfield 2 p.m. on Saturday and then watch the Blues bloody beat the West Coast Eagles. And that's going to happen. Go Blues. See you guys next time.